Good morning, students. Today we will discuss the NCERT exercises that are given at the end of this chapter. I am not going in the same given order of your textbook. I am going with the importance levels. Okay. Let us take the first question. How are the alveoli designed to maximize the exchange of gases? Alveoli are the balloon or sacs-like structures present inside the lungs. If we take the entire structural details, in the respiratory tract, the trachea enters into lungs and it is divided into two large branch-like structures. They are called bronchi. Left bronchi, left bronchus and right bronchus. These bronchi in the lungs, they terminate into many smaller tubes-like structures which are called bronchioles. These bronchioles terminate into many tiny balloon-like structures called alveoli. Singular is alveolus. In science, there is one saying, smaller the size of a structure, more is its surface area. As alveoli are very small sized structures, they provide greater surface area for exchange of respiratory gases between alveoli and their connected extensive network of blood vessels. Actually, those blood vessels are very finest sized, so they can be called capillaries. Okay, so the alveoli are very small in size, so as to provide larger surface area for gaseous exchange. What is double circulation? What is the importance of double circulation in human beings? The type of circulation in which blood flows twice through the heart. Blood flows twice through the heart in one complete cycle of blood circulation is known as double circulation. In double circulation, there are two circulations. They are pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. What is pulmonary circulation? The flow of blood between the heart and the lungs is known as pulmonary circulation. The right ventricle of the heart pumps out the CO2 rich or the deoxygenated blood to the lungs through pulmonary artery. Once the deoxygenated blood reaches the lungs, it gets oxygenated. After this, the oxygenated blood reaches the left atrium of the heart through pulmonary vein. So, through right ventricle, blood is pumped out and reaching the lungs. Through left atrium, blood is coming and reaching the heart from the lungs. Through right ventricle, blood is pumped out and is reaching the lungs through pulmonary artery. and from the lungs, blood is reaching the left atrium through pulmonary vein. So this is pulmonary circulation. And what is systemic circulation? The flow of the blood between the heart and the body tissues. The flow of the blood between the heart and the body tissues is known as systemic circulation. So here, the left ventricle pumps out the oxygenated blood to the body tissues through aorta, and from body tissues, the deoxygenated blood reaches the right atrium through vena cava. So this is how the blood is moving between heart and the body tissues. So the flow of blood between the heart and body tissues is known as systemic circulation. From heart to the body tissues, left ventricle is pumping out the blood. Through what? Through aorta. From body tissues to the heart, which blood vessel is bringing back the blood? Vena cava. Into what? Into right atrium. So this is pulmonary circulation and this is systemic circulation. Okay. Because of double circulation, the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood will never get mixed up. This ensures the complete separation of deoxygenated blood from the oxygenated blood. When the deoxygenated blood is completely separated from the oxygenated blood, this in turn ensures efficient supply of oxygen to the body. Efficient supply of oxygen to the body ensures production of good amount of energy that is needed to maintain a constant body temperature in humans as well as in other mammals and even in birds also. Because of this, birds and mammals are warm-blooded or homeothermic due to their double circulation system. Write the differences between the transport of xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem are the vascular tissues or conducting tissues or transport tissues in the plant body. Xylem transport is unidirectional transport, means only in one direction water and minerals are transported, that is from roots to the top of the plant body, that is to the leaves. Phloem transport is bidirectional transport because when leaves are present, food is transported from leaves to other parts of the body, that includes roots also, and roots act as sink. When leaves get shed off, food is transported from storage regions, that is from roots to top of the plant body. And in xylem, 4 components are there: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. In that, tracheids and vessels are the main conducting elements. So water conduction occurs through tracheids and vessels. In phloem, food transport occurs through sieve tubes and companion cells. In water conduction by xylem, only physical forces, that is root pressure and transpirational pull, are involved. Whereas in phloem transport, physical force, that is osmotic potential, and chemical energy, that is energy from ATP, both are involved. So only physical forces, root pressure and transpirational pull, are involved in xylem transport, Both physical forces and chemical energy are involved in phloem transport. Next, compare the functioning of alveoli in the lungs and nephrons in the kidneys with respect to their structure and functioning. So, alveoli of the lungs and nephrons of the kidneys, they are compared in their structure and in their functioning here. Alveoli, as we already discussed, they are the sacs or balloon-like structures. Nephrons are the tubular structures that carry out filtration of the blood. Okay. Alveoli in the lungs are the structural and functional units of the lungs. Nephrons in the kidneys, they are the structural and functional units of the kidneys. Alveoli are present in respiratory system. Nephrons are present in excretory system. Alveoli provide the sides or the surface for the gases exchange at lungs. Nephrons carry out filtration of the blood and remove nitrogenous waste products from the blood and form urine. The wall of the alveoli is 1 cell thick and it is surrounded by extensive network of blood capillaries. The wall of the tubules of nephron and the Bowman's capsule of nephron and Henle's loop of nephron. So the wall of the tubules and Bowman's capsule and Henle's loop of nephrons, they also, that is 1 cell thickness, and it is also surrounded by network of blood capillaries. The network of blood capillaries that surround these proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, this is known as vasa recta, right? And coming to alveoli, they are the sacs or balloon-like structures. Nephrons are tubular structures. Alveoli are made up of simple squamous epithelial tissue. Nephrons are made up of cuboidal epithelial tissue. In class 9th, we have already discussed this, right? Next, what are the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? Name some organisms that use the anaerobic mode. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. The oxidation, any respiration is oxidation or breakdown of the food to release the energy at cellular level, right? So what is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration then? The oxidation of the food to liberate energy that occurs in presence of oxygen or by using oxygen is known as aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration, the oxidation of food to liberate energy without using oxygen or in the absence of oxygen is known as what? Anaerobic respiration. The aerobic respiration, oxidation or breakdown of food is complete. By aerobic respiration, whatever the oxidation or breakdown of food that takes place, it is complete. That is, food is completely broken down. Food is fully oxidized. So more energy or high amount of energy is produced. Whereas oxidation or breakdown of food by anaerobic respiration, it is incomplete. So in anaerobic respiration, less amount of energy is produced. And aerobic respiration, it occurs in cytoplasm and in mitochondria. Both are involved. Whereas anaerobic respiration, it occurs only in cytoplasm. It won't take place in mitochondria. Aerobic respiration occurs in most of the eukaryotes except certain fungi like yeast cells. Anaerobic respiration, it occurs only in some bacteria and in yeast like fungi. And when our muscle cells are deprived of oxygen, then also anaerobic respiration takes place, because of which we get cramps after having strenuous exercise. How are fats digested in our body? Where does this process takes place? Okay. How are fats digested in our body and where does this process takes place? Fat digestion occurs in small intestine. Initially, large fat globules are converted into smaller fat globules in emulsification process by the bile salts. What is emulsification? Conversion of large globules of fat into smaller fat globules by the bile salts is known as emulsification. So after emulsification is over, pancreatic lipase breaks down the emulsified fats into still smaller fat globules, and finally the small intestinal lipase completes the fat digestion and converts the lipids into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay. What is the role of saliva in the digestion of food? Saliva is produced by 3 pairs of salivary glands in our oral cavity, and saliva, it contains some salts, minerals, as well as mainly salivary amylase enzyme. So here we are going to take the salivary amylase as our main interested thing. Saliva contains salivary amylase, or it is also called ptyalin, P silent in the ptyalin spelling. This salivary amylase converts, or it digests the starch into sugar. Where does this starch present in our food? So salivary amylase, it digests the starch into sugar only up to some extent, not completely. Remaining digestion of the starch will be completed in the small intestine itself. What are the necessary conditions for autotrophic nutrition and what are its byproducts? Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight and chlorophyll are the necessary conditions. Carbon dioxide is needed for photosynthesis, water for photosynthesis, sunlight for providing energy in photosynthesis. Chlorophyll is to capture the light energy for photosynthesis. And oxygen is the byproduct in photosynthesis or in autotrophic nutrition. Right? Is oxygen the only byproduct in photosynthesis? Water also is formed a little bit. Right. Next, what would be the consequences of deficiency of hemoglobin in our bodies? Hemoglobin is the oxygen binding protein in red blood cells. Oxygen, which diffuses into blood capillaries at the alveoli, will be transported to all cells of the body by being bound to hemoglobin. Oxygen that diffuses into blood capillaries at alveoli will be transported to all cells of the body by being bound to hemoglobin. If oxygen has to be carried from lungs to all other parts of the body only by diffusion, then it would be taking years together of time. In your textbook it is given like from lungs to the toe of our body. If oxygen has to move only by diffusion, it takes about 3 years of time. That much time cannot be spared for the transport of oxygen. Then how can this oxygen be transported to all parts of the body easily and fast? By being bound to hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is acting as oxygen carrier. As hemoglobin is acting as oxygen carrier, cells are supplied with oxygen in correct time. So if there is deficiency of hemoglobin, then what will be happening? There will be reduced supply of oxygen. Sir, when hemoglobin is not there, then how oxygen is transported? Oxygen can be transported little bit by being dissolved in blood plasma, but it cannot be transported full by being dissolved in blood plasma because of the low solubility of oxygen in blood plasma. So when hemoglobin is deficient, then there will be very much reduced supply of oxygen. When there is a very much reduced supply of oxygen, that results in reduced production of energy, and this may cause fatal consequences also. So that is the final result of the deficiency of hemoglobin. There are some more questions, 1 to 4. That is, the kidneys in human are a part of the system for nutrition, excretion, respiration, transportation. They are for excretion. The xylem in plants are responsible for transport of water, transport of food, transport of amino acids, transport of oxygen. For what transport? Transport of what? Water. The autotrophic mode of nutrition require carbon dioxide and water, chlorophyll, sunlight, all of the above. All of the above. Already we have discussed it. Right. Next. The breakdown of pyruvate to give carbon dioxide, water and energy takes place in cytoplasm, mitochondria, chloroplast, nucleus. Where does it take place? Breakdown of pyruvate using oxygen takes place in mitochondria. Right? Okay. And this process breaks up the 3-carbon pyruvate molecules to give 3 molecules of carbon dioxide and other products that it is going to be formed is water, along with that production of sufficient amount of energy. Okay, these are the different questions that are given in NCERT exercise at the end of the chapter. Okay, so in the next class we will discuss the next chapter, questions and answers. Thank you.